Hello, Tommy here. Today we're going to talk about a new technique. We're going to combine the last two techniques I covered, which was cutting at an angle to make a relief cut and stacking to make multiple objects. In this video we're going to combine the two, and we're going to stack objects and cut them at a specific angle so that we can make an inlay, which will can give you contrasting colors in one piece with a perfect match. That's what we have right here. That's an inlay. It was just one of the first ones I ever did, just experimenting. That's my initial, and I really like the way it turns out. And what I did here, been so long since I'd done one, I went back to my saw and checked my angles. You have to check that for each specific saw, and what size blade you have will make a difference in how well it works. So this one turned out the best of the two. You can see it split me a little bit right there. But so I got my saw set so we can do this with a 1/4 inch material. I'll tell you how to do that. You'll have to do that for each saw. I may make a separate video showing that, but right now I'm going to show you this technique. What I've got is two separate types and color of woods. This is poplar. It's a light wood, and this is rosewood. It's a very heavy wood. It makes a very nice wood when you finish it. I used a lot of rosewood in some of my boxes and various things, but they're both 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do, we're going to stack these. And what's important to remember is the piece on top is what you want to inlay. What I'm going to inlay is the heart. I'm going to inlay the heart on this goose. The goose is going to be this wood, and the heart is going to be this wood. And in order to do that, you have to cut at an angle so that this piece that you cut out of here will slide directly into the bottom piece. I've done this several times. I just love the way it works. But we're going to start by putting these two together. Like I say, you want the inlay color on top. So in the last video, I taped these together by pieces I'd already cut to length. Well, this is another way of doing it. You can just go around the edge with your tape like this. This works just as well. Just go all the way around the edge, keep everything tied together. Just go all the way around. I cut these the same size. This makes it much easier to put them together. They don't have to be. I've put different sizes together because I needed a smaller piece for inlay, but I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So then you just cover all that real well, pull it down, and then I'll go ahead and mount the pattern. So I've got the pattern mounted on the two blocks of wood put together. As I was doing it, I made a little mark right here to make sure I knew which side was up for the way I'm going to cut. Now I said I put the dark wood on top so that it would inlay in the bottom piece. That, just like a relief cut, is dependent upon the direction of cut as well as the angle. And the way I'm going to cut and the angle is, I'm going to make the top piece go in, and we'll discuss that when I get to the saw. You always double check it at that point. But I've got a very small drill bit on this drill because this one you can't hide the drill hole easily if it's too big. I make as small hole as I can, and I'm using a number 3 blade. I wouldn't use anything larger. I said most of your work you can do with a 5. This is one of those I wouldn't use a 5. Thicker wood you probably get away with that, but it's 1/4 inch wood, and the angle I'm using, I'm just going to use a 3, and that works well for me. That's what I've already got the saw set. I've already tested it and made this little piece inlay right there. So I'm going to drill this hole, and then we'll go to the scroll saw and we'll discuss the angle and direction and make sure we got it right before we start cutting. So I'm going to drill this very quickly here. All right, so that's my entry hole for that. That's the only internal cut, and that's going to inlay the dark part, dark material into the light material for the goose. So let me get it over the scroll saw and we'll talk about the setup there. So here we are at the saw. It's still set up from my test cuts that I made a couple of days ago just to get this set up. I wanted to show the angle I've got it set on. I haven't changed it. It's slightly more than a degree, about 1.5 degrees. And that's the angle by which I made these test cuts. And here's the two pieces. This piece was on top of this piece, and you can see where they matched up. You got these cuts matched this one, and then I took the top piece and inserted it into the bottom piece. And that's two test cuts. Actually, there were 4, but these are the 2 where I had the angle close enough. You can see that gap in that cut I made. I had to angle it a little more or a little less to get it fit a little better. And in this case, I had the light material on top and the dark material on bottom. And I cut in a clockwise direction. So that tells me that my angle is correct, and also that to make this cut, I'm going to have to cut in a clockwise direction. So let me get this thing threaded through the piece, and then we'll cut it. Okay, so we're threaded through. I've got the blade in tensioned. And it sounds good. So you have to visualize here what you're doing. Basically, you want the top of the piece slightly larger than the bottom. When I'm talking about the top layer that's going to slide in the bottom layer, you want the top to be larger so it doesn't slide all the way through. You want it to fit pretty well flush. So that's the reason it's such a small angle. So you visualize that, and you can see as the table's tilted to the left, then the bottom of the piece will be slightly smaller than the top of the piece, and that's what we want. You have to visualize that as you're doing this. If you cut it wrong, the bottom piece will fit in the top, and that'll still work, but it just may not be the combination you want. You just have to be aware of the combination of colors or types of wood that you're putting together so that you get the right cut in the right direction. So here we go, we're going to cut it. Okay, so we've got the internal heart cut out. I'm going to pull the blade out of there and take those 2 pieces out of the center, and then I'm going to cut the outside out. Okay, I've reset my blade, and now I'm just going to cut the outside of the goose and take the pieces over the bench, and hopefully we'll have it right. Okay, so here we are back. Here's the little heart that I cut out of the top piece, which is what I wanted inset into the light piece. And it fits pretty well. It's a little looser than I like, but with some glue it'll hold in there just exactly where I want it. It's going to look fine. It's hard to see where I drilled the hole. Put a tiny bit of sawdust in there with a tiny bit of glue if that's a problem, and I can't hardly see it. But yeah, that fits really well. As you can see, of course, this heart's way too loose for it to go the other way. But you still have your two pieces cut out for something else if you want to use it. But the main point of this was this inlay. I wanted to do a simple inlay and kind of demonstrate how it works. I like it a little tighter than that, like I said, but this works. If I'd have changed it a quarter of a degree, it probably would have been just perfect. And I like it where you have to wedge it in there and maybe even sand it to get it smooth. But with a little glue, that'll fit in there just fine. So thank you for watching this, and I hope it's helpful to you. Please hit the like button. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them. I'll be glad to talk with you and reply to you. And if you like this series and it's going well and you think you want to continue, please hit the subscribe button so you know when the next ones are coming out. I'm probably going to do some compound cutting, and I may get into designing some patterns as we move forward. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.